And welcome back to another edition of Lamplight City. I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but that's the way it should go. Alright, so we're looking for this baby, and now we're going to this Ghost Spectre Society place. Following the lead of the nanny. So that's where we're headed.
Too dark to tell what's inside. They must enjoy the somber atmosphere. I wonder if Philip's steam-powered carriages will ever make those things go out of fashion.
Huh.
I wouldn't like to have a street lamp right outside my window. Not without a good set of thick curtains, anyway. Too dark.
Alright.
Nothing like the smell of horse manure in the baking sun, eh, Miles? Still, it's not as bad as the chum.
I don't see anything else. Alright, let's knock on the door.
Yes? May I help you?
Hello, ma'am. My name's Miles Fordham, and I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Are you with the police?
No, I'm a private investigator.
I'm terribly sorry, darling, but I simply don't have the time right now. Perhaps if you come back next week, I'll be able to answer your questions then.
What's next week?
This is the Spectre Society, right? I'm interested in joining.
Ah, yes it is. Welcome, darling. Our membership process is a bit different to most social clubs. We require a sponsor.
Sounds simple enough.
Well, you see, we ask that sponsors be people who have passed on into the spirit world. Once you name your
That's
sponsor,
weird.
I will attempt communication beyond the ether. When they answer, you will be judged and considered for membership.
What are you looking for in a sponsor?
A willingness to communicate from beyond the ether. Open-mindedness, a desire for truth. In other words, all the qualities of a member of the Spectre Society. Actually, we've had former members who have passed on act as sponsors before.
I've got a sponsor.
Excellent. What is the name of your sponsor, darling?
Bill.
Bill Legere is my sponsor.
Seriously, Fordham? I thought you knew better than that.
Bill Legere. Very well, I will attempt to communicate with him.
She can do this all day. It's not gonna work.
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble communicating.
Perhaps
you
no
can come
good.
back and try again later.
See? Told you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, hello again.
You think
How
she'd
may
be
I
able to
help
hear him without trying?
I'd like to name a new sponsor.
Yes, of course. Who is your new sponsor?
Let's go with Jonathan Davis.
is my sponsor.
Mrs.
You
Davis'
knew
husband.
Jonathan? He was such a kind man. Yes.
Nope, but I know his
I can
wife.
feel his presence, and it speaks positively of you. Please, come in, Mr. Fordham. I am Angela Maxwell, the founder of the Spectre Society. Welcome.
All right.
May I offer you some refreshments? Some water or tea, perhaps?
You're very kind, but I'm afraid I must decline right now.
I'll take some
Well,
tea.
please let me
Speak
know
for
if you change
yourself,
your mind.
Miles.
Would you look at this place? It's like a candy store for psychics. The plaque says Leonora Pattinson, seer. She looks like someone I would not want to fool around with.
What do we got on the bookcase? Apparently something interesting.
It's nice of Miss Maxwell to let people borrow her books, even if they are all just a bunch of nonsense. And coming from me, that's really saying something.
Astral projection refers to the willful out-of-body experience in which the soul or astral body disconnects from the physical body and may travel throughout the universe. Practice dates back as far back as ancient civs, with multiple depictions by Egyptians. The expression of astral projection, meaning journeying to other worlds, heavens, hells, the astrological spheres, and other magical landscapes. But the term is also applied to non-physical travel around the physical world. Though this usage continues to be widespread, the term etheric travel, used by some later, thesophists, Some experiments say. Some experience. The fuck is that word? The visit different times in our places. And the user represents sense of being out of body, yada yada yada. Other experiments may describe a domain that has no parallel. Okay. The philosophical idea of transmigration of the soul at the time of death. Hey, this is Bill. Part of the seance, Ouija boards. Alright. Spontaneous human combustion, huh? The magician.
What a fascinating device. Exactly what does it do?
That is an etherometer. It's designed to pick up vibrations from the ether and translate messages from the spirits.
Oh yeah, that's gonna work.
Ooh, spooky. That ghost between the two people almost managed to look convincing. That's probably the storage case for the spirit board.
I think I've seen one of these before. What does it do?
It's
It's a
spirit
Ouija board.
We use it to contact spirits, and they in turn spell out a message with the letters on the board.
Well, I've got a message from Miss Maxwell if she ever tries to use a spirit board around me. A great man once said to me, "Bill, you aren't going to get very far in life just staring at balls." He's dead now. But then again, so am I. Those are some creepy twin girls. I could see a passing resemblance to Miss Maxwell, actually.
Ooh, does she have a
There's
twin?
quite a few members in this group.
Angela Maxwell, Monica Brown, Sophia Shaw, Thomas Gilbert, Linda Walker, Donald somebody, Randall Faulkner, Henrietta Davis, Edward Lagrange. That name sounds familiar. Cynthia Wilkins. Angela, the meeting was wonderful. And they were interested in a used spirit board. Please let Thomas know. Thank you. Linda, looking forward to having you over at the Manor next week. Come around 8 p.m. and you can meet Charlie, Henrietta. Okay. Please ask the spirits to cure my son's illness, Sophia.
I never much cared for all that mystic stuff. Why should your life be dictated by a bunch of cards?
All right, let's talk
Could
to
I
Miss
ask you about
Maxwell
some
here.
things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
She is not cute.
What made you decide to start up this club?
I began communing with the spirits at a very early age. My twin sister, Rachel, died after falling into an icy pond when we were 8 years old.
That's
I'm
shitty.
very sorry, Miss Maxwell.
Oh, I appreciate your sympathy, darling, but don't feel too bad. Rachel began speaking to me shortly after that. She has served as my spirit guide ever since.
Spirit guide? You mean you still speak with her?
Oh, yes. Every day. In fact, I was just speaking with her before you arrived.
Huh.
As I grew older, I realized there were others in the world who were also able to communicate with spirits, and those who had an interest in what lies beyond the ether. And so, once I moved to New Britannia, I decided to start up this club so we could gather and share our experiences.
All right.
Do you suppose she can hear what I'm saying? Hey, Angela, try a bit less eyeshadow, would you? You look like a purple raccoon. Nothing. Clearly a fraud. Ah, well.
Clearly.
What can you tell me about the Spectre Society?
Ah, where to begin? I
Well,
formed
with your
this club
members.
2 years ago, right after I moved to New Britannia. During our meetings, we discuss our experiences with paranormal phenomena and organize investigations.
What sort of investigations?
We look into places all around the city which have been reported as haunted. New Britannia is teeming with the spirits of those killed during the French and British takeovers of the city. Not only that, but there is a prevalence of mystic religious practices here in Gascon, brought over by immigrants from the Antilles.
Nice.
There are plenty of books on the subject over there in the bookcase, if you're interested in learning more.
All right. What do you know about this kidnapping?
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
I'm afraid I haven't heard anything about any kidnappings, darling. If you wish, I can commune with the spirits and see if I can help locate your missing person.
Let's do it.
That won't be necessary.
Oh,
Miss
come
Maxwell,
on. You can
though
wrap it
I
up.
appreciate the offer. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, and she mentioned one of your other members, Linda Walker. Can you tell me anything about her?
Ah, Linda. Poor dear. Of all our members, she is the one I feel for the most.
Why is that?
She's had a tragic life, but I believe the Spectre Society has helped her greatly. Not only has she made a good friend in Henrietta, she's also dealt with her grief in a positive way.
What happened to
She
her?
has devoured my collection of books, educated herself on many subjects. I would say she's become an expert on clairvoyance and metempsychosis. It's always nice to know that the club can help those who have suffered.
Do you see her often?
Yes, she comes by about once or twice a week.
Wow, that opened up
What
a whole
can you
bunch.
tell me about Linda and Henrietta's friendship?
It's so lovely to see them together at the meetings. They're practically inseparable. It's quite sweet. They often leave messages for each other in the guest book. When Linda found out that Henrietta was taking care of an infant, she even gave her a toy bear. For
Yeah,
the
we knew
child.
that.
I remember Linda lighting up with excitement when she asked about him. She really loves children. It's such a terrible shame about... But please, let's discuss something more pleasant.
So
shall
what
we,
happened to
darling?
Linda?
I'm sorry, what was it you said? Madam Psy, what?
Metempsychosis, darling. It's a philosophical term which comes from ancient Greece. It refers to the transmigration of the soul after death.
Is that anything like reincarnation?
Essentially, yes. There's a book on the subject over in the bookcase, which can tell you far more than I possibly could.
Didn't you read the book?
What's this tragic story
Come
about
on.
Linda you mentioned?
Give me the deets.
Oh, dear. I probably shouldn't say.
Pretty spirits can tell you.
Miss Maxwell, I'm going to be frank. I'm investigating a kidnapping, and Mrs. Walker is a person of interest. I need to know as much about her as possible to help me solve this case. Do I make myself clear?
Well, if it will help.
Absolutely.
Linda was married to a man named Thomas. Together, they had a son named Alexander. Thomas revealed himself to be a terribly cruel man. When he gave himself over to the drink, he would fly into rages and beat both Linda and the boy. One
Kill the
day,
kid.
she came home to find both her son and husband dead.
My God, what happened?
The police
Look at
ruled
his
it
eyes.
murder suicide. Poisoning, apparently. Linda has been trying to make contact with Alexander's spirit for the past year or so, but has had no luck.
No.
It really is a terrible tragedy.
Where's Linda live?
Do you know Linda Walker's address?
I'm afraid not, darling. Linda has always been somewhat private, and that's not something I consider to be crucial information.
Do you know any way I can find her?
You could always come back for our next meeting. It will be the first Thursday of next month.
By then, we'll have completely lost track of Charles. There has to be another way of finding Linda.
I was wondering,
Yes?
when you communicate with the spirits, are you able to stop?
If I wish them to leave me, yes. I bid them farewell, and they usually depart back into the ether.
What about the more persistent ones?
You do remember I'm right here, don't you?
Well, just between you and me. Those spirits are best dealt with by having the other kind of spirits. Quiets them right down.
I prefer soporific myself.
Oh? You hear the voices of the spirits as well, Mr. Ford. But of course, now the reason for your visit to the Spectre Society is obvious. Do you see? All our paths eventually become clear. I'm glad yours has brought you here.
Become a member.
Wonderful. Now she started rhyming. Don't get any funny ideas about telling her about me. She may be a lunatic, but that's no reason to expose yourself as one too.
Yeah, we're gonna do
I
it.
don't hear the voices of all spirits, just one.
Miles, what are you doing?
Ah, you have a spirit guide. Please, tell me more, darling.
I wouldn't call him a spirit guide so much as a spirit nag.
This is a very, very bad idea.
Do you know who this spirit is?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's my former detective partner, Bill. I shot him on our last case together.
You shot him?
He was on a roof being held at knife point by a burglar. They were too close. I took the shot, but missed, and hit my partner instead.
Yeah.
Oh my. You poor darling. Is he angry with you?
Well, he is now. He doesn't think it's a good idea to tell others about him. But normally, he's the same as he was in life. He just wants me to find the man responsible for his death. I've told him I'm really the one responsible, but he insists it's the burglar.
I see. This is quite the unfortunate situation. My advice
You're
to
telling
you
me.
is this. Spirits often know best. You do well to listen to him about keeping his presence to yourself. Not everyone is as open-minded as we members of the Spectre
Oh
Society.
yeah, I kind of figured that.
Maybe I misjudged her.
I know. It's been hardest keeping this from my wife, but I can't drive her away. She's all I've really got left.
Your story has touched me, Mr. Fordham.
Oh,
I will do everything I can to help you and your spirit guide find peace. If I find anything out which might help you, I will contact you personally.
Thank you, Miss Maxwell. I appreciate it.
Well, that could have turned out much worse. I'm warning you, Miles. Tell anyone else about me, and I won't be so forgiving.
Thank you for the information.
Why is he so grumpy?
It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
achievement unlocked. So, we learned Linda's got crazy. She's
I'll be
crazy.
going now.
May the spirits guide you to that
She
which
lost her
you seek.
kid and her husband, but the husband was a dick, so apparently that's not why she's sad. It did not unlock anything else. We know the husband and wife were lying.
Hello again, Mr. Ford.
Let's hit up the babysitter again, obviously.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Mrs. Davis, have you ever had Linda visit you at the Harris Manor?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're a liar.
And would you care to explain your note to her in the Spectre Society guest book?
Please, Mr. Fordham, I didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that it gets so lonely by myself in the house at night. So every now and then, I invite Linda to come over for tea and some company.
I see. And when was the last time this happened?
2 nights ago? Please don't tell Mr. and Mrs. Harris, Mr. Fordham. If they found out what I was doing, they'd have me dismissed
2 nights ago, so...
without a reference.
I won't, but I'd very much like to speak with Mrs. Walker. Do you have any idea where I can find her?
All I know is that she works as a seamstress at a shop in Lyon, but I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I can't be of any more help than that.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome. May the spirit...
We could probably talk to Upton about that. Let's go talk to these guys again.
Sit tight, Mrs. Harris. I may have more questions for you later. I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
All right, I do have some for him.
Yes, of course.
I found this letter in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
You went through our things?
I'm a private investigator, Mr. Harris. It's part of my job.
Of all the insolence!
You're upset, I know, but do you want me to find your son or don't you?
Not that hard.
Yes, of course I do. That letter was sent to me by mistake. It was written to my father. Well, if you can even call that writing.
Yeah, it was pretty
Have I
rough.
ever mentioned how much I hate rich people? Because I really hate rich people.
Your father. Doesn't he own the company building the new airship?
Yes, that's right. He's been receiving many letters just like that one since the Lygia disaster. But that Devons fellow in particular has sent one every week, along with a bag of chicken bones and dust.
How peculiar.
Not only that, he leads a daily protest in front of the construction yard where the HMS Lenore is being built, trying to halt production. My God! How did I not see this before?
So
He didn't
what?
do it. There's no way.
Devons! He has a grudge against this family because of what happened with the Lygia. I'd put money on him being involved with the kidnapping somehow, as a form of retaliation.
It's too easy.
I'll just have to speak with Mr. Devons and see for myself. Mr. Harris, what can you tell me about these?
What? How did you...
Listen, I'm trying to help you and your family. I can't do it if I don't get the entire truth.
Do you think we could discuss this somewhere more private?
I suppose we could.
Good. Let's move to the nursery then.
His wife's not going to think that's suspicious?
Shall we continue our conversation, Mr. Harris?
Yes, of course.
Now that your wife is out of earshot, tell me about the kidnapping and what these betting stubs have to do with it.
Right. As I said before, it had already happened when I got home. I had just come from spending the evening at the Meadows.
The Meadows.
I see. I take it your wife isn't impressed by your hobby?
I promised her weeks ago that I would stop going, but I've had such a good streak lately. The last thing I wanted was to upset her further, yet it would be foolish of me to just give up on something so promising.
Yeah. All right.
Can you think of anyone who might want to do you harm by taking your son?
Several, I'm afraid.
Go on.
I haven't exactly had the best of luck, Mr. Fordham.
That's what it sounds like.
This streak was so important to me. The truth is, I've gambled away most of my money. I've had to take out several loans so Miriam doesn't get suspicious. If she ever found out, it would be over. I can't lose her, Mr. Fordham. I just can't.
Where have I heard this before? You know, things would be so much easier if people just talked to each other.
I've tried doing business above board, but lately I've had to seek other resources.
What do you mean?
I was forced to visit a lending office. The owner was a rather shady Sambo, but I figured he'd be easier to deal with than the usual sheenies that run those type of places.
The
Can you
hell?
believe this guy? Maybe we should just leave the kid be. He'd probably be better raised by wolves.
Who was the owner?
Mr. LeFay. I didn't bother to get his first name. His business is an abattoir row in Chumley. Horrid place. But I was desperate.
You think this Mr. LeFay may
All
have
right,
taken
new
your son
location.
as collateral?
Let's just say there isn't much those type of people wouldn't do to put a crown in their pocket.
How goes the construction of the new airship?
There have been some complications, but nothing we can't handle.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I already told you about the trouble with protesters at the yard, and we're blocked pending Royal Maverick's review of the safety regulations for the prototype etheric diffusion engines. Agitators and red tape aside, we should still be on schedule to have the Lenore
Schedule?
finished and in the air by the end of the
Schedule?
year. But really, Mr. Fordham, what the deuce does this have to do with finding Charles?
He has a point, you know.
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right. If you don't mind, Mr. Fordham, I'm going back to the living room. I don't want Miriam getting suspicious.
Maybe we should have talked to her when she was alone.
Sit tight, Mrs. Harris.
We may have missed our spot. Let's go see Upton.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
How's work going?
Hectic as usual.
Oh,
Crime
you're
in
sitting in a
city
coffee
seems to be
shop the whole
getting worse
time.
and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out, or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer around
Uh-oh.
the islands.
You don't say.
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say. But so far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months. Snelling is trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes. Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
Nothing.
I've
found this torn piece of fabric at the crime scene. It's got an emblem with some initials on it.
I recognize that emblem. It's from Solomon Stitching, a little tailor shop in Lyon. My ex-husband had several jackets from there.
Sorry to dredge up old memories, but do you remember where they're located?
I believe it's on the corner of Bonneville Street and Surratt Avenue.
Fantastic.
There we go. I think we found Linda.
I found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No bear.
The kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, the Harris family nanny.
A sensible place to start. What did she have to say?
She claims to have been unconscious when the kidnapping took place.
She must be an extremely heavy sleeper.
I don't believe so. The way she described it made it sound like she was drugged.
Interesting. Definitely worth looking into, I'd say.
Have you ever heard of the Spectre Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
Pretty
The
much.
spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead. Are you familiar with the term metempsychosis?
No, what is it?
Apparently some mystics and philosophers maintain that it's a process whereby human and animal souls are transferred to new bodies upon death.
Fascinating. Some people have such queer ideas. What's that got to do with the kidnapping, though?
Nothing.
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Sometimes I'm jealous of all the odd things you detectives get to look into.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay,
That's it, I think.
then you'd better get back to it.
All right. There's stitching. There's construction yard, lending office.
Well, someone certainly wasn't shy about making their opinion known. Well, someone... Now,
These guys sound
that
mad.
is an impressive piece of machinery.
Too many have died to allow this to continue. Steam tech must be stopped.
I suddenly remembered a joke. What's the difference between the HMS Lenore and Chief Snelling? One is a greatly disliked and untrustworthy sack of hot air, and the other is the HMS Lenore. Don't these people have jobs they need to go to? But the way this gate is set up, I think trespassers should get an award for being able to breach the fortress. Elect Hart Leroy, the man of the
Hart
people.
Leroy.
I think that's preaching to the choir around here.
The time has come to reject steam.
Who's this guy?
They take it.
Pardon me, are you Arthur Devens by any chance?
Yes. Who are you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. Could I ask you a few questions?
Guess so. Yeah.
All right. Tell me about
You're
yourself.
very dedicated to your cause.
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a lot of people who are against steam tech, aren't there?
Yes, the movement is gaining ground and growing rapidly, I'm pleased to say.
I've heard stories about some more extreme members.
The
You know anything about
Redites.
You mean the Redites? Sure, I've heard of them. Even met a few. But if you think I'm telling you anything else beyond that, you're sorely mistaken.
Are you a member of the Redites, Mr. Devens?
No, I prefer more peaceful methods of making my voice heard. Now, if you don't mind, I think we should
Like
drop
sending
this.
threatening letters.
You recognize this letter, Mr. Devens?
How'd you get that? That wasn't meant for you.
Yeah, well,
I found it at the home of Mr. Malcolm Harris. He tells me you've been sending quite a few of these to his father.
Me and everyone else what had someone killed by that devil machine. I'm not the only one, you know.
Perhaps not, but he told me you were the most persistent. What have you got against the Harris family?
The family? Don't know nothing about the family. The only one I got a problem with is Clyde Harris.
Clyde?
The one who owns this yard. He's just like all those other rich bastards with their heads in the clouds. The man don't care about the dead. He just wants to make as much money as he can. I'm just trying to make him realize how wrong he is.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles
Charles Harris? Who's that?
Clyde Harris's grandson?
I I didn't even know we had a grandson.
Hmm.
I can't believe
believe him.
someone with a grandkid, a family, would want more flying death in the air. How many more people have to die before someone realizes that steam machines are evil? People will kill their own mams for a crown these days.
What's up with the bones
Mr.
and
Harris
dust,
told me
Mr.
you sent
Voodoo?
a bag of chicken bones and dust along with your letters. Why is that?
Chicken bones? Dust? Nah, that's not right. I've only sent letters.
Are you certain of that?
Yes, as sure as I'm standing here.
Right. And I'm the queen.
Hey, Queen
I get the
Bill.
feeling this guy will crack if we figure out what the significance of his little gift is.
Why are you out here protesting?
Because what Harris Construction is doing ain't right. I lost my wife in the Lygia crash, and I'm not the only one, neither. Hundreds of people were affected by that disaster, and now these bastards are making another airship. It's like a slap in the face to everyone who died. I just can't understand it.
What do you hope to accomplish by protesting?
Simple. We want construction of the Lenore stopped, and a full investigation into the Lygia disaster.
I think there probably
Not only
was
that,
one.
We want compensation for our losses. Royal Maverick took care of all the families of those on board, but the families of the ones in the park didn't get a single copper. It just isn't fair. We aim to make things right. After that,
Oh.
it'll just be a matter of time before people
That is
realize
bogus.
that there's no future in steam tech, and they'll call the whole thing off.
People that died on the ground
innocence
didn't
of
get
the
compensated.
I wish I could be as naive as them. It would have made my life a lot easier.
You must have loved your wife very much.
Are you joking? I loved her more than there are stars in the sky.
Aww.
She was my whole world, Mr. Fordham, the light of my life. It's been nothing but cold and dark since she was killed. You're married, aren't you, Mr. Fordham? I see a ring on your finger.
I am, yes.
Then take my advice. Appreciate every moment you have with her. You never know when she'll be ripped out of your life, leaving you with nothing.
What a
You know,
shame.
this fellow was actually pretty wise. Maybe we misjudged him.
Does this piece
Yeah,
of
I don't think he did
familiar
it.
to you?
Looks like
But we need to figure out what's going on with those chicken bones
Type
and
you expect to
dust.
see on the snobs in Leon. I could never afford clothes like that in a million years.
Do you recognize this button?
Can't say I do, but it looks handmade. I wonder how long it will be before the poor soul who crafted that button gets booted into the street and replaced with some steam-belching contraption.
Good day to you, Mr. Devins.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
All right. Yeah, I think this guy's innocent, but let's figure out what's going on with the chicken bones. And I think that's where we're going to stop here. We found out she's having dinner tea with Linda at the house. Linda works here at Solomon Stitching. We also need to go talk to the loan shark. It's starting to come along here. I still don't know who the hell did it. My money's on Linda. Loan shark or Linda. That's our choices where we're going next time. Anyway, thanks guys. I am out of the